the Wayne's World. 3, 2. Okay, it is, let's call to order. It is actually after a delay. It's 10:38, and the Marine and Environmental Resource Task Force meeting is in order. 10:38 it is. So, call to order and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. All right. Okay, roll call. Shall we start to the left?
Mary Rose Galetta, present.
Rose Larkin, present.
Jennifer Rusk, present.
Steve Johnson, present.
Greg Fossum, present.
Wendy D. Gattano, present.
You know, I'm going to be here so short, I'm not even going to roll call in.
Okay, I don't know if that's official, but we'll let it slide. We're easy. Nice to see you again, Wendy. Welcome back. Unfortunately, Rob has an excused absence. He had a death in the family and had to leave town to take care of that. So first on next agenda item here is to actually approve the agenda. I have one addition here, and that was just to add add shoreline spotlight. So that's the article in the Observer. Whether or not y'all like to resume that, and if so, to quickly prepare an update of the schedule of responsibility. Otherwise, it looks good to me. And by the way, it's the one that's posted. I guess we have two agendas. The other one was just shared with MERTF, sent by the liaison. And this is the one that's posted to the town council, to the town website, so that's the one we need to follow. Also, Chad, I guess we'll have put Chad down as well as having an unexcused absence. We haven't heard from him, so we'll make a note of that. And
I move we accept the amended agenda.
I second that. Any objections?
Nope.
Okay, motion is unanimous. So, approve previous meeting minutes. We have two sets. We have the meeting minutes from Wednesday, September 14th, the pre-storm, as well as the prior meeting, Wednesday, September 14th. Do I do these individually, or we can do them together? We can do them together. Do we have any input, any corrections, any edits?
I read them, they look fine to me, so I'm going to move that the minutes of both meetings be accepted as written.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any objections? Motion passes unanimously. Excellent. Moving right along here. Public comment on our agenda. Do we have any? Oh, please. What would be the best approach? Right, just stay right up and stand
Right
up.
here?
Yep, sure.
Okay, well, my name is Kathy Turner, and I'm here representing the Estero Island Garden Club. I'm on the board of directors for the Garden Club as Vice President of Communications. So a lot of communication as far as I've been in contact with the town, the mayor, and also Rose as part of MERTF. And the Garden Club would love to partner with MERTF and with the town. Just by way of background, the Garden Club goes back to 1959. You know, the recent endeavors was there's a memorial Ann Reesner garden on Bay Oaks, right by the gym building. We went over there about a week or so ago, a group of about 8 or 10 of us. We cleaned it up. There's a lot there that still survived. So we've got it good and cleaned up so that we'll let the rainy season give us magic. This was funded as a memorial by her husband, and we still have some funds left. So come after the rainy season does its work, then we will get in there and start to make it look, bring it back to life. We've been in touch with Jeff Hagee, who's the interim director. What a joy to deal with. So, you know, he was prompt, he was just everything we needed. You know, we left the debris. We had probably 20 feet worth of debris for them to take out of there. So we're looking to bring it back to life. We used to do the planters at Times Square. And then most recently, we did the demonstration garden in front of the whale, which unfortunately is gone. We're looking to be in an advisory capacity. We're starting to age up. We don't know who is going to be able to return to the club. The whale garden was extremely difficult to get that going. And plus right now we don't have any water sources, so we have to be careful of what we do. So we're looking to partner. We're looking to get the information out to the community. Rose and I have chatted about having a session available for the residents and commercial, just what's out there, what would be worthwhile for you to be researching for revitalizing your garden. I'm not doing anything at my yard until October because I want the rainy season to do some of the work. I've got so much muck, it's not even funny. But just to get enough education and information out there so that people can make informed decisions. Same thing with the town. I've heard of late some meetings where they're talking about, the LPA was talking about planting coconut palms on Old St. Carlos, and I sit there and like cringe. As you may know, that when they finished Bay Oaks, against former councilor Roxanne Hossafross's instructions not to plant coconut palms in Bayside Park, they planted coconut palms, which is just a nightmare for the town because they're going to have to maintain it, and plus there's certainly a liability. So we're just hoping to provide the education, the support. We can get in there and clean up on a small scale, but we're certainly not equipped to do anything large scale. So that's it.
Wonderful,
And
thank you.
happy to partner with you.
Thank you, Kathy. I think as we go through our Build Back Right efforts, I think we'll use you as an advisory resource.
Now, I have provided Rose with pamphlets and contact information for your contact. We're on Facebook. We have a website that's partially viewable. I left a few cards with Rose with all the contact information. So happy to hear from you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for attending and your patience as we got delayed started. So, any other public comment?
Go ahead. Continue on.
Okay, perfect. Good. So as we move along here, let's jump into, actually we have, under current items. So first is staff report. Emergency berm, shorebird nesting, sea turtle nesting. Since staff isn't here, we will probably skip that unless possibly Mary Rose has an update on sea turtle nesting that you may want to share.
Well, I do have today's good news. Is this the time for me?
Sure, let's throw it out
Okay,
there.
we have nest number 1 on Fort Myers Beach
Hooray.
today. We have a whole number of false crawls, at least 7 of them that I'm aware of. Today was the first nest. Unfortunately, we had to move it because it was up in an area where the berm has not been finished. So we had to move it, but the good thing about that is we know that there are 110 eggs in that first nest. So we're thrilled with it. We've moved it to a nice, safe place, and we're off and running.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for that update.
Could I add a question? I mean, I don't know how.
Yeah, normally it has to be at public comment only. Yeah.
There is one at the end of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Just stick around. Yeah, and if you can remember. All right, thank you.
But don't not ask, excuse me, don't not ask. We like when people ask us questions.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's just really up to the staff to present that stuff. I mean, I'm, know a bit about the berm itself, the project going on, but I guess I'm not in a position really to be an expert. So let's jump to the next agenda item, which is really the scope of the rebuild focus. So maybe we're going to call this, staff wants to call us Build Back Better. I don't particularly like that phrase, so Build Back Right.
It has a political connotation, doesn't it?
Yes, it
Yeah.
does. Very political. So Build Back Right, Build Back. Anybody you have something you like to?
Rebuild our
Choose.
beach.
Which one is the correct agenda?
This is the posted agenda
Okay,
that we'll
so
have to follow, but those are still underneath, yeah.
Okay, and this one came from Chad?
So we'll call Bill back right now, but basically it's all about basically establishing our agenda going forward, agenda items. So what should we be working on? I mean, the town council hasn't approached us with agenda, to fill our agendas with items. So we will do that for them, I guess, with input. Hopefully, maybe at future meetings, the public will show up and add their concerns that we can add to the list of agenda items. But I thought maybe we can all contribute items that you feel we need to be working on, and then potentially prioritize those, and then we start knocking them off throughout the meetings.
So we have nothing on the list at all, Steve?
No, there's a couple here that originally were kicked around. I mean, last meeting we had beach accesses. Is that something we can participate in? Maybe the design to avoid the scouring, the serpentine path, maybe recommendations to the town council. Again, all we can do is recommend to the town council.
I have a question in regards to that. So is it my understanding from the last meeting that Chad had said that we're not going to be doing the beach accesses until after the beach renourishment has been done? If I remember correctly, that's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
We should get going on our beach accesses because one, we have a lot of scours, and it's dangerous. So we at least need to fill in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
And two, 2 years. Well, if the beach renourishment's not starting until next year, we're then looking at another year. We're looking at 2 years before we do some planting, and is it all completely up to FEMA, since we're asking FEMA to help us replenish our beach accesses? So my question, I guess, is, do we absolutely have to wait to do our beach accesses? At least planting and making it pretty and putting up signs is, especially information. I mean, people are still coming to our beaches. It's not like, because our beach accesses aren't pretty, they're still coming and they still need information about, the stingrays and to shuffle, which is going to be coming up in this October, and need information out there on sea turtles and garbage. I just finally on my street received a garbage can and a recycle can, which was great. And so I guess my question would be to you, Councilman Veach, is are we absolutely having to wait for FEMA and after the renourishment to get our beach accesses going?
I know at least there's one where there was some scour, and Chad was saying maybe it's a turtle trap, so there is some urgency. I think when you're on the other side of the berm, maybe the assumption is the turtles won't go over the berm, but I think so far I haven't heard of any interactions between the turtles and the berms.
Mm-hmm.
Today's nest was right next to a scour.
Was it?
Right next to it. She avoided it, but
Yeah.
that was part of the reason that it had to be moved, because we don't want that scour there. We want them to work on it, and we knew the nest would be in the way. But are all the beach accesses accessible now? Have they all been?
That's something I don't know.
Yeah, I was hoping to have Chad answer that. And Jennifer, what do you think we need at them? Like, what are you thinking we should?
We need our signage.
We need signage, informational signage,
right?
About how to treat the beach.
Correct.
And we need
some vegetation, and I believe we need some vegetation. That one will, not be like scours where people are just throwing garbage in it. We need vegetation for many reasons, for wildlife, for not just aesthetically,
but we can't really put that in until we know they're not going to be putting any more sand in there and doing it.
See, right now, I think there's construction. We have the berm, we have cleanup, we have the berm project, and then following that, it will be the renourishment. So it's going to be a busy beach for quite some time.
So I guess my question is, so are we maybe not doing the planting, but shouldn't we get some sort of
I think-
educational signage
I think the
up?
first thing is safety, right? Because
Yeah.
I know Sterling, it still has a caved-in, flat concrete work there that a truck, was using the access and caved in there's a hole there, a pretty big hole. So I think safety is something that we should recommend, obviously, first and foremost. But then I think maybe our advisory board can make a recommendation on then, how to, when the time comes, I mean, we could ask for expediency, I mean, we can only ask, but then, when it comes to the redesign of the accesses, that we can make recommendations, I think, right? And basically go back to what we had, basically go back to what we had with signage. And then, the design, like I said, the straight ones are, proof is in the pudding. It's just scoured during this last storm. So is it a serpentine with a comma dune, with dune at the end, or, maybe we can research it to find out what are the most resilient ways to design an access for the town.
Do we need trash collection?
And then there's funding too. I mean, that's the other big one. And trash, but
Do we need trash collecting to begin there, Jennifer, do you think?
at the accesses?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're Sterling.
Oh, they are in some, but not all.
Where
of
there's
these.
a town garbage can and recycle bin, they're collecting.
They're collecting, but they don't have that at all the
But they're not
accesses.
picking up the garbage that people are throwing cans and garbage into scours and like
Right.
acting as though they're big garbage ditches,
Right. But I think they're moving forward because the access I left this morning, I can't remember which one it was at. I don't know if it was Aberdeen or whichever one I was at had the same thing, had the two garbage and recycling. So that was huge. I was so glad to see
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
very happy to
So my
see that.
guess is that they're slowly putting them out. So we're just speculating to know whether they're not all there actually.
Right.
And
We need more
Because it
information.
happened overnight
We do.
actually.
And
We-
there's no dog food
So we
bags
need,
anyway.
let's make a motion that Chad report to us at next meeting, how many beach accesses are open, how many have garbage cans, how many have signage?
Yeah.
How many are being used for berm?
Right.
I mean, if they're driving trucks through there to get sand for the berm, they can't do anything to fix it.
Right.
So I mean, that's the questions.
Yeah, we need an update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't think we need a motion for that, but we'll ask Chad. That's usually for.
Well, I think if we make a
town council.
motion, it'll be more authoritative.
Official, official.
I mean, like last time I said, tell me about the berm, he said it's all on the website.
Oh,
I want to report.
I don't think there's anything in Robert's rules that is gonna.
how about dog
change
food bags?
attitudes.
Do we need them or
No.
Yes,
we're okay without them?
No, we
Yeah,
definitely.
safety.
Well,
need
let's put that on there too.
Safety, garbage, and pet waste collection. I mean, those are sort of the minimum three, I'd say. And then from there
What
on,
are they
it's
again, Steve?
design. Safety, garbage,
Yeah.
and pet waste, which
Right.
is also
Right.
under garbage.
And then Jennifer wants education and aesthetics also.
Right, of
But we'll
course.
put that for last.
But again, I think that's based on funding and,
All right.
and what, I'm hoping there's a timeline. If staff was here, they probably could.
Well, that
let
was
us
my
know, but-
question is, are we depending on FEMA to pay for our beach access?
No, I don't think so.
The
FEMA-
lot, and insurance, he had said too. He said, we're waiting on FEMA and insurance to tell us.
Oh, I see what you're saying for that.
For
but
the sign lossage
I
and.
thought you meant with the berm, yeah, no, the
Right.
berm is
No,
not
not berms,
taking
I'm talking
care of the
about
accesses.
after
Right.
the renourishment. Are we having to wait for after the renourishment to get our
Okay,
beach accesses back
disaster relief.
to what?
Yeah, I don't know,
it
I
used to
don't,
be?
I don't know what the disaster relief funding looks like. I know that it's delayed, there's that bridge loan that came in to help us as we wait for the.
That's not for,
That's for operating, yeah.
That's just for operating costs.
Right. But then there's also, we have it in our operations in TBC funds also. So I don't know where the status of that is either, because they're the ones that usually.
Can you explain what that is?
Tourist Development Council funds, that's the bed tax, goes to Lee County. They appropriate the amount between Lee County municipalities that have, just municipalities, and then they contribute, or they pay back that portion of the bed tax to the town, but it has to be used for tourist tourist purposes. So beach accesses is a big one. I mean, we spend a ton on beach accesses. Basically, it's funded by CDC funds, I think. So I don't know what the status of that is. So again, that funding is a huge question mark at this point. So you don't want to, push them too hard, I guess, because you
So
can only
not-
do what you can do.
So are we moving a motion, moving Dr. Fossum's motion?
If you so choose.
I think we should make it official, what we're asking for, so he knows what to give us. A timeline of beach access improvement. How's that?
So your motion is to provide, for staff to provide us with a
Information regarding timeline of repair of beach accesses.
timeline. Okay.
I'll second that.
Objections? Okay. Motion moves unanimously. Approved unanimously. Timeline of beach accesses. Okay, good. Okay. Okay, but that will stay on the agenda as an agenda item, or
Definitely.
an item that we will continue to pursue. Okay, because that's sort of what this was, this list underneath there. Bayside Park is on there. As you know, there's a rebuild. I don't know if they're starting to move forward. Bayfront, Bayside, the
It
next to
looked like
Nerd
something
Smelly.
was going on there, Steve.
So it'd be interesting to find out, what's going on. And the other thing is, there was some
Because
some
we-
items that we weren't happy, at MERTF as well as the Staro Island Garden
Right,
Club.
there was some
The
lighting,
coconut
I
palms.
believe, in the old design that I
Lighting
hope
was
has
a
been
problem. There was
scratched.
uplighting. There
Yeah.
was uplighting. That was a problem as well. So I would think that as we find out more information, we can make some recommendations
Yeah, we
to
definitely need an
council.
update on that. Yeah.
So Bayside Park stays. So these aren't necessarily meant to be discussed today. It's just really, I think, for now, the major purpose of this meeting is to come up with that list. And then, like I said, prioritize it, and then we knock off 3 or 4 every meeting, or at least continue on those. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You guys are agreed with that? Okay, good. So having said that, so Bayside Park, I think, is certainly one that we should leave on, correct?
Yes.
Again, this is also about the normal types of things we work on, but it's also with a rebuild focus that'll add some new ones. Third one was town vegetation. I think that came up from Rose's last meeting about
Yes,
the.
and I have kind of multiple pieces of that.
So what portion, what sub-items under town vegetation? Is that?
Well, there's a couple.
So we have
There's
the
one
roadway,
about
we have the
in-
Estero Boulevard, right? There's $800,000 that the Lee County
Right, there's
gave
the
the town.
information on the town website, but that's really for people, whether it's residents or business owners, to really look at. It's a research thing, and they have to do their homework kind of,
Mhm.
because they have to go to the environmental science website and then look for it, and then look at what properties might have had invasive plants and what invasive plants might look like, and then to go now and look at what they should be planting.
Mhm.
So that's a true homework kind of project for people. They can always stop by one of the marine and environmental pop-up tents and get information and talk to people hands-on.
Mhm.
That's always an option. And then the garden club, the Estero Island Garden Club,
Mhm.
which just spoke earlier,
Mhm.
is willing to help residents and business owners and provide their website so that they can be contacted, and they also are willing to do some classes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's multiple options out
Mhm.
there. There are some Master Gardener volunteers on Sanibel that are also gonna start doing some presentations. They contacted me just this week, actually, should be included. But they're willing to do presentations starting later, like in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
on plants.
So,
There's
go ahead.
multiple options out there. It's just kind of like, where do we want to go with that?
Well, I think, I mean, that falls under sort of education, and I think.
It's all, yes. it's
Yeah,
all
and as an
education.
advisory board, I think what we potentially could do is to provide that education to residents as they build back. Again, the focus of sort of, you know, building back right, the benefits of native plants. You know, everybody's yard is devastated. The ones that are in decent shape are the ones that they came and put sod in, you know, so you have to water sod, you have to fertilize sod, and you have to, you know, use weed killer on sod. So there's better alternatives, at least environmentally, for our marine resources, our water quality. So, you know, we're in a position, I think, as advisory board to just maybe provide Jenny Dexter with content that can go out in advisories or in the town newsletter. I mean, that's probably the best way to promote at least residential gardening and landscaping. But under town vegetation, the town's properties are also affected. So what's are there recommendations for landscaping Bay Oaks? Is there recommendations for, you know, whatever happens to Newton Park? The Estero Boulevard, I already made a note that Estero Boulevard is something we can make a recommendation on. Potentially the plantings that go there, like I said, there's, you know, $800,000 Lee County gave us to take over the landscaping for Estero Boulevard. And they had the 2 ground covers that they had in a small area, I think down to Publix from, I can't remember, maybe the fire station or maybe the 7-Eleven by the fire station down to Publix, I think. Is that where, do you remember where they planted the garden?
I know, she does because.
It was Red Coconut down to Publix, roughly that area, yeah, that they had the 2 different ground covers. So we can have that, you know, when that item comes up, we can talk about how successful those were, and that's where we could get some advice from the garden club as well. So town vegetation, we'll keep that, and others. So
And the whole ordinances for the town.
yeah, well, we still have that.
Waiting on
Yeah,
Chad
ordinance to
finish
codify.
Ordinances for the tree ordinance and the
Mhm.
general.
Is there any general, is there any general rule for how you go about, like your whole yard is devastated?
Mhm.
Like, what do you do? Do you,
No.
are you worried about the salt water intrusion and hose it all down
There's
first,
nothing
or
in Fort Myers Beach.
nothing?
There's nothing that's legally or officially
Okay.
ordered.
Should people scrape out their old dirt and put in new? You know, I'm just wondering, how do you go about it? Do you just,
My neighbor, probably soon, maybe a month after Ian, had a landscaper come in and redo her whole yard.
Now,
And
did they
and
remove
things are,
dirt?
some things made it, something, no, they just added topsoil.
did they test it
planted.
first?
No.
You know what you need to put in?
That's a really good point. There are 2 ways to get your soil tested, and I really need to get that probably on the website. One is from the Lee County Extension Service. You can have your soil tested, people can take stuff in. And the other one, which is more expensive, and expensive being maybe $25 to $30, you can have soil samples sent to the University of Florida Extension Service out and have them tested. And then you could actually see what you might need to incorporate. Generally though, from the Stephen Brown's presentation on Sanibel several months ago, it was like, you could just get some topsoil and whatever and mix it in, like within 4 inches, like mix it in, and plant native plants and they would be okay. But that information also needs to get out to the public.
Yeah, I really think people, if we had some kind of a gathering that people could, you know, who were interested, could go and let someone go step by step. This is what you need to do to get the best results. I think if we could.
Well, that was my idea at the last meeting when I said, let's do like something at Mount House, maybe, you know, we could have pots with the native plants and people could come and get information on what would be, you know, best on your landscaping, maybe bring pictures of your landscaping too. You know, we could have the garden club, we could have the native garden people, we could have us we could all be there to kind of assist.
Right.
But not only that, I would like to raise money to get Fort Myers Beach green again.
Right.
Not just the town-owned areas, but something to, just like Arbor Fest that we had.
Arbor Day, yeah,
Arbor
that's
Day,
great,
we
yeah.
gave away trees, lots of trees to the community, native trees. And I think, you know, and we're still building our houses. I understand that there's other higher priorities, because that's what I'm doing too, but just something, because honestly, this island seems so bleak.
Yeah,
You know, it's
and
sad.
people want to get out there and,
We want
yeah.
some greenery again.
We
you
need,
know?
we need a
it.
good rainy season. That's what we
Yeah.
need. Good rainy season. I mean, that'll wash, that'll cleanse the soil and, you know, versus hosing it down.
Right.
Well, honestly, so,
Yeah, I mean,
so this is my question,
mhm.
maybe for you, is because my husband said, I was like, this is a bunch of sludge and it's crap, and how can we plant? He said, well, really, to be honest with you, this is our ground.
Normally.
Normally, this
Yeah.
is salty. This
Yeah.
is the way.
It is, yeah.
We're a barrier island, and this
Yeah.
is it.
Yeah.
So it might be more saltier than
Yeah.
typically, but it's still pretty much. So that's another reason why you're going to be wasting a lot of money on planting things that aren't native and used to this salty
Right.
earth. You know?
Well, there was a lot of petroleum products on the island too, though. I
Oh,
mean, there was,
right.
you know, you could see the sheen. You could
Right.
see the sheen there was a sheen in
Oh,
the
I
mud.
felt terrible
Right.
about, it's
Transmission
like, what,
fluid,
this
wiper
my-
fluid,
My home.
gasoline, all
is
those,
like that.
all
Pollution,
those
stuff like
generators
that.
that were underground, all those vehicles that were underground. So there was some pollution, but you know, it'll essentially wash out into the water, eventually into the waterway.
Dr. Fossum, I had a question about what you brought up, and I believe it was someone had brought it up, or town council had brought it up with the
So waste?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got an update. on
Yeah.
that
Oh, you do?
for us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that was answered for us, so that was good news. Okay, so moving forward again, so now we get to the point where what else do we add to that list? Our agenda.
I mean,
For
ongoing.
the future, ongoing, for future meetings, what can we work on maybe, do research if need to, so we can make
Okay,
a
so
strong recommendation to
For the
town council?
vegetation, we need to do the the official ordinances. That would be good.
Right,
I mean, that's still a Chad thing of finishing that up, and
Right.
we've done our part, that's just him.
Mhm.
The access, the beach access part, the Estero Island Garden Club had mentioned having different communities, groups,
Mhm.
possibly take them over,
Mhm.
volunteer
Mhm.
to Zoom,
So I stopped by after the pop-up, and I spoke with Brenda, and she had told, I said, who, did the beach accesses? Like, who decided on the planting and stuff like that? She said, that was all Murph. Murph was the one who did the beach accesses. And I don't know, is that correct? Or
Nice.
did Murph work with?
I think Murph worked with, I think the beach access places were done by the Estero Island Garden Club.
Well,
And
crap.
they kind of orchestrated who was gonna, what groups, were gonna take over what beach access.
Crab had sort of authority over beach accesses when they were still in play, when they were still organized.
But they're gone now, right?
They've been gone for
Yeah,
a couple of
they're
years
gone.
now, so I think that's
And that
falls
would
into
kind
our
of be
purview
something
now.
where
Yeah.
to go out and get different organizations or groups or whatever to take over specific beach access points and say, okay, you're gonna do the vegetation here or there. And,
Okay.
there's been some discussion that they should be given a list of what they could possibly plant.
Absolutely.
versus
Right.
just-
Yes.
You can't just plant anything.
Right.
But, in our previous meetings, we've talked about, dune vegetation and the list that those people were given of what was possible. So it would kind of be the same sort of thing where we would give them a list of, you could plant this, or that.
Mhm.
Not,
Sounds good. So we'll keep that under beach accesses.
I like
But maybe for the sake of time, instead of digging down into each of these, we're trying to, right
Just
now,
get the
just
bullet points.
establish the main bullet points.
Right.
So-
Then we'll revisit it and come up with really the recommendations
do
or,
it,
yeah,
right.
how to do it. So,
Dark skies. I know it's on there.
Yeah, well, that's.
I mean, but just as one of the bullet
Oh,
points.
right, that'll continue, I'll just put that down, yeah. Dark skies will continue, that's its own agenda item, but we'll continue with that.
Boat pump out?
Boat pump outs, I think I don't know if we've completed, I mean,
We never got an answer.
done what we could, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll put it down
I mean,
again.
my suggestion was free pump out, making access to pumping out easier for the boaters.
Instead of charging the $5 or $10 that they would go around and offer.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just the $5, it was they had to come all the way to town hall and pay the $5 and register.
That changed, though. That
It did?
changed. Yes,
Yeah,
that
you could
changed
do
like
it.
a year ago. They changed it to, they could just give them a call and request it.
Okay, it was just making easy access.
Yeah, yeah. How about mangrove protection? You know, I was kind of, I don't know exactly where that situation is at the Beach Theater, but it's really, seems disappointing the
It's
way
glaring.
that.
Does anybody have an update on that, what the town
Well,
did?
You know, my understanding, I think at the magistrate, they went in front of the magistrate, the owner got fined $5,000, the contractor got fined $5,000.
And does the owner have to replace?
At this point, my understanding is he's now applying for a seawall permit, you know, with the DEP, which the assumption is he'll be
You know,
granted,
this is-
but let me finish, he'll be granted that.
Mm-hmm.
So for the the cost of $10,000,
He got rid of all those mangroves.
got rid of
So
that,
it's
he's
a
gonna
local
open up that
option.
town, he's
This
gonna be
is-
able to put a dock out there, all the
This
you know,
is
boating traffic for
terrible.
that.
This is so frustrating to me because this is the same thing that happened by
So it's a
across
yes?
the island.
Yes.
Where the contractors build in these fees. So they can do what they want to do because
Yeah.
they project out there, they say, oh, we're going to have to get rid of all these mangroves. It's going to cost us $5, $10, $15, $20,000. Let's just add that to
Well, but also,
the construction.
well, but also there's a legal way to do that where you buy mangrove credits, you know, in Pine Island,
Yes.
where they don't, you know, I say this facetiously, where they don't need mangrove credits because it's actually a very, very natural island, and it doesn't serve our island for the purposes that they're here for. So to just pay to further develop like that is, I think, unconscionable, and we, you know.
It is that beach theater, what they have done is just absolutely criminal, and it's glaring. They are a terrible example for this island. Everyone driving past
Because
can
they also
see
remove
what
town-owned
they've
property, yeah, mangroves,
Yeah,
but
it's
so,
just
so,
terrible.
I mean, maybe as we actually discuss that, when that comes up in an agenda item, is potentially recommend to the town that they don't, they stick with their land development codes and say you need to mitigate that. If you're
Yes.
caught removing them, you're fine, but then also you replace them.
Definitely.
So, I mean, just throwing that out there. So that's a yes on the agenda?
Yeah.
Mangrove
Okay.
protection, yes.
Yeah. How about,
Isn't that part of, I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
isn't that part of Florida Forever area? The protected by state Florida Forever?
I thought it was in the 11th commandment, thou shalt not, you know, I mean, when I moved down here, I mean, that's something that everybody knows. You can't cut mangroves. I mean, that's the, you know, that's the
I mean,
sponge,
this-
it's the,
I would think that
pollution
it would fall
absorber.
under Florida Forever, which is federally protected mangroves.
it is. I mean, technically
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
So they shouldn't just deal with municipality fines, but they should probably deal with whatever the federal government has for them as well.
Right. So again, that's an agenda item that we'll talk about later. Well, anything else? How about,
You said you have an update on sewer
well,
lines?
I do. I'll do, under members' reports is when I plan to do that. I have members and reports as an update.
So should we leave it as a possible working bullet point?
It's actually, I think, being managed. I mean, I think it's
Okay.
going to be pursued. So, yep, so I'll say that. But also, again, think building back. So right now, I think prior to the storm, there was a known conflict on the beach with water sport operators and storage of their materials, although our ordinance requires them to have a site plan that during, let's say, sea turtle season, they're supposed to remove things and put them back behind where they're protected. That was overlooked. There was really not a lot of compliance. There was grandfathering this or that. I think as we now have the berm and we're going to be renourishing and there's going to be dunes, I think, again, based on, again, my current understanding is that we have managed beach zone plan. So if you do take state paid for sand, in return you have to build a dune that's 75% the width, you know, there's all those requirements that were instituted back in 2005 or whenever they did the north side. And they reinstituted Keith Laconan's sort of program that we reviewed, that with the requirements, with the selections that would be planted on the dunes, all those types of things. But that would be an opportunity now to come into compliance with our land development code to actually ensure that that is followed up on, and that if there are water sports operators or there are cabanas or whatever structures are used on the beach, that there is a place to return those during sea turtle season without just sitting them, a list of, a pile of 11 wave runners, sitting at the edge of the beach, behind the window, let's say.
I think there are rentals going on now. Didn't someone start it up?
I don't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are they complying with our rules? Are they removing them out of the way? And we don't know.
That would be a question for Chad.
Yeah.
So that's would that be a yes also?
Yes.
Okay.
But also, even if they didn't accept the berms, they don't get the go-ahead to, leave their
Then
water
they have to
sports
haul
out.
their stuff up behind the buildings.
Right.
That's water
So it's
sports
either
and
behind
chairs.
the berm
Operator,
or-
yeah, chairs too. Yeah, not just water
The
sports. I mean, I'm
building.
not trying to take
Chair-
them out.
everything.
Chairs, just
Everything.
beach obstructions is what that would be
Exactly.
considered.
Yeah.
Beach obstruction. So,
Yes.
beach obstruction,
Update.
obstruction compliance,
Right.
building back for compliance to our land development code. Basically, is what we're going to recommend. It's a unique opportunity.
Right.
Wiped us out, but now we have the opportunity to build back right.
And no
Right.
permit should be issued for any commercial business until, on paper at least, there will be compliance.
I would agree. I don't think that's happening right now.
Right.
There's-
And that's why I'm bringing it up. We don't want promises that, let us do what we want, and then somewhere down the future,
That's why
We'll
we're
do
at
what
where
we're
we're at.
asking.
That's why we're at where we're at. I mean, in some cases, there's water and electricity run out to the beach
yeah.
in some of these stands. Yeah, that's the beauty, isn't it?
So we'd like,
So, but again, I mean, we can make recommendations since that's what we potentially want to do.
Right.
So that's all we can do. So.
proven compliance before permission.
Any other subject matters? I mean, dunes. I mean, we know the importance of dunes, and I think when we build back, again, it's
Oh, okay.
What about beach raking?
just the importance. So beach raking might be a good one. Again, to
There's a lot of raking going on around just in that area where Wyndham used to be and going a little bit north. That is getting raked daily. Why? I don't know.
I'm not sure either because I don't think there's an active permit to do it. I mean, again, I could be wrong, but my understanding is that there isn't a current DEP permit, and there are requirements to meet to rake, such as property owner permission. So, there's a question to say, are all those property owners who are vacant, all those condos that are vacant, are they really paying to have their beach raked right now? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
It's hard to believe, but
But, so that would be one, we'll put that on there as well. I mean, we don't have to discuss it at length, because there is, land development code controls that as well.
I have a question. So if you didn't apply for the berm and you see a neighbor's and you're like, wow, that actually isn't so bad. It's not what I thought it was going to be. Can they still apply for it?
For the berm, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I had during the update, because I think it's just a moving target. People are being added daily, and some people are dropping out daily. So I don't know. I know that there was never, that the berm's going in, everybody didn't sign easements. It's been a very fluid project. So, yeah, I mean, that's all I can tell you. I know daily that they have update meetings and they add and they subtract. I mean, I know that at one location they had placed it and then they pulled it out again. So that's a cost to the town.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Anyway, so we have to. I don't want to speculate. We allow project manager to comment on that.
Is that Chad, the project manager?
He's our environmental project
Yeah.
manager, so he's the liaison with Michael Poff, who's the coastal engineer that's in charge of the project. What else? Seagrass. I mean, there's not a lot we can do with seagrass. That's beach raking. We talked about CWA. Anything? Any issues with the CWA besides building a bridge through the EC zone?
No, but my concern is like, why do we have two agendas? I guess, because your agenda as you go through it is different.
Yeah, I
than the
have
one
no
that
idea what we're,
I mean, I printed out one a couple days ago that I was sent from Chad, and obviously it's different from the one today. And my
Correct. Yeah, I
question is-
submitted one,
Yes, and so my question is just.
and
like,
that one
you're
ended up
going
being
through-
posted on the website. So I think legally, I mean, we need to follow that because that's notice. That's
Right, that's public notice,
Public
but I'm just
notice.
like, I'm
And
having a
this
hard
is-
time, because you bring up stuff, it's like, oh, that's.
well,
not
they're all.
public
It's all
notice.
the same one, though. I mean, in general.
No, it's not. Here's mine.
No,
It's
it's
similar.
totally
it's-
different.
It's only missing one item,
That's
correct?
No,
No, it's
No.
completely different.
it's very different.
So we added spotlight.
See, I
Shoreline
haven't-
spotlight was different. That was added from the first one. Council report update, which I don't know. Chad added that. I don't know what that means. So we didn't. You
But
know.
from the very beginning, it's different.
Well, the staff reports were removed. That's the difference.
Yes, and then, yes.
And then we get into the same MERF scope, you know, it's called Scope of Rebuild Focus Planning. He put that at the bottom, he wanted to coin the term Building Back Better, which we have all decided we don't
And
like
I'm
that.
just throwing that out there.
So anyway,
It's
that's,
very
we
different.
Actually, we
discussed
Two
that, so,
different agendas
Actually,
to
we
be
have
looking at.
3 different ones. Wait.
all right.
Anyway,
So,
okay.
the chair's gonna move forward with one here, so.
Yes, okay, we'll go with yours.
And so right now, we're under item B, subsection 4, others, so to complete the list. And so we've added beach raking. So maybe instead of CWA, maybe EC. Is there some additional, is that the EC zone? So again, this is that island-long buffer, environmentally critical zone that you're not supposed to build in. Hardened structures for storms, A. Number 2, because it's an environmentally critical zone, and it also is a buffer to the beach, so that you don't have development encroach right onto the beach. So I think I personally think the EC zone is absolutely
How's it
critical
How's it
to
defined, Steve? How
protect.
How you
I don't know what the-
beginning and end of it?
What's
Like,
the,
where does it start?
Is there an
Like, where does it
actual
end?
official
Does
map
it-
of it?
I think
Does
so,
it-
yeah, I think there's there's a survey of the EC zone.
Is it like from the rack
It's
line
not
or
from the
high
triple CL,
tide
I don't know,
line,
I don't
or-
know what it is. I mean, I don't know exactly what it is, the exact zone. I know it goes the length of the island, and I'm not sure if, one barrier is a triple CL line. There's a 1978 triple CL, which is on the other side of Estero, really, and then there's another 1990s triple CL line, which I think is the active one for legislation.
And that might prevent some buildings from being rebuilt if they're over that EC line.
Well, what we could do is actually add it, and then we can use that as an agenda item, and we can look into it and come up with the maps and make sure we understand, because as development occurs during this rebuild, we'll be in a position to make recommendations to the town not to give away our EC zone.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some
So-
more research on that and find out what it is.
It's,
Thank you,
it's
Aaron.
yep,
Thank you.
okay, we got that. Anybody have anything else? How about this concept of just density as it affects the environment, our town environment? So density and intensity. That's a topic that's being thrown around that you know, yeah, it's been discussed. I mean, the floor to area ratio, and which would allow you to increase density, which means more units, higher units, more than is currently allowed under our land development code. So higher buildings, you know, just more intensity. You know, my concern is that we're going to live in an urban jungle, because the build back itself, everybody has to be elevated. So where there was a one-story cottage now, you're going to have a 14-foot, 11-foot, 10-foot base flood elevation, and then potentially 1 story, but the land development code allows you 2 stories. So, you know, across the canal for me, it's totally legal, you know, and that's fine, but we know that that intensity is going to come with just a normal build back following our current land development code. Now, if you start to tweak it and massacre the land development code to allow all these variances, you know, you're going to have, it's going to be an urban jungle, I think, and that affects the wind, you know, the breeze flow and going through the island. It increases the temperature of the island. There's more mass to the island that has absorbed energy and gets heat later, you know, that type of stuff. So there are environmental effects from building.
So, Chair, can we request a joint meeting in the future, in the near future, with land development to discuss these things?
Who
With
define
MERTF?
land, or LPA?
LPA?
I think it'd be a
joint meeting so we can come together with LPA to discuss, you know, some of these concerns, and so we can see where they're at.
Would it
Just
be
an idea.
Sure.
better to have just a representative give talk to us, a report of some sort?
I think a
I'd
joint
like-
meeting
yeah.
would be productive.
Would cover more viewpoints
Correct.
without having to come up with this concise list. So I can call Anita and see if she's open for that. She's the chair of the LPA right now, so I'd be happy to do that with the LPA. And there's also under members' reports, I had another item that maybe would have a joint meeting with public safety as well, or not even a joint meeting, but well, I'll get to that later.
Okay.
So what else do we have? So that was this concept. I mean, is that something that we should have an agenda
Density,
item?
and I think height restrictions go with density, don't you think?
Of course.
Yeah, so
Of
we'll
course.
put
I
them
mean,
together.
yeah, absolutely. Because that also just means more automobiles on the island. I mean, this island's packed. I mean, if you haven't been here, which I know you all have, for tourist season, it's also almost 365 days a year now. The summers are quite busy, but you can't move. I mean,
That's true.
it's packed. And so the idea here with the increasing density, you know, floor area ratio, and all these things that right now are regulated under our land development code, and providing variances, is just going to bring a mass more people. You're just going to put more onto this barrier island.
Yeah, we
So
definitely-
from our perspective, and our scope would be what does that actually do to the environment? I mean, as residents, we certainly have our opinions, but as an advisory board, we're in a capacity to provide advice to town council about how that might affect the marine and environmental resources of the town. So maybe, is that worthy of the agenda item?
Yes.
Yes.
And so we'll call that density, intensity, environment. Because that's going to be a hotly debated item, I would guess. What else? Anything else? Anything else? And so let me review here. So we've got beach accesses. I mean, this is plenty. This is going to cover a few months worth of meetings, obviously, and then probably progress from there. But beach accesses, Bayside Park, town vegetation. Again, in the idea of rebuild, dark skies, which we've been discussing. That's maybe the one item that we carry over from pre-storm. Boat pump outs was the second one. We'll keep that on there. Mangrove protections, beach raking, beach obstruction compliance, beach raking compliance, EC zone, protection maybe, protection, and density intensity as it concerns the environment. So that's the list we have right now. And those all actually will have a lot of discussion, I'm sure. But also research. I mean, I guess as advisory board, that's our job.
When do you do your next report to the town council? Because I thought that,
I did one at the last town council.
what, next one? Because I thought at the town council, you tell them what we think we should do, and then they tell you what they think we should do.
Well, normally if we have a motion, I'll go to town council.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if there's nothing happening, then it's maybe quarterly. You would go and
Okay.
just say, this is what we're doing. But yeah, I had the priority list that we worked on before with the status and what actions have been taken and things like that. So this would be, yeah, if you want to make a motion, I can present this as our new agenda items and priority list for ongoing meetings and see if they have input to add to this. And also if they have comments on this and, you know, choose to knock us off one of these. But I can't imagine they would want to do that. But so I don't even think that needs to have a motion, actually. I think I can just go to the next one under advisory reports.
Yeah.
I usually send them a report prior so they have it, and then we review it.
Okay.
Is that, do we have consensus?
Yeah, I think we need to let them know about our concerns and the fact that we would like to be updated on the background for some of these items, because we can't really proceed if we don't know what the plans are, how they're going about it.
Yeah, I mean, some of these certainly, I mean, they understand, I think, what the EC zone is, but I think it's, you know, we're incumbent on telling them, or at least articulating to them why it's important, and basically providing advice as an advisory board. Because that's a lot. The land development code's massive, in my opinion.
So I kind of want to move to make a motion that
Could be the first one that we deny.
the environmental project manager provides an update on the vegetation ordinances, both the tree ordinances and the regular vegetation ordinances, to the Marine Environmental Resource Task Force at the next meeting.
So we can't,
Make a
before
motion on that.
before it's seconded or anything, so we can't direct staff? We can't direct staff, that's not, you know.
We could request.
We can request,
We can
and
request
actually,
that
the last
these-
meeting, I brought to town council that there were 3 outstanding
Right.
ordinances that we've worked on for the last couple of years, one being the water ordinance, which is a model ordinance, that again, that we're the only municipality in the county that hasn't adopted the model ordinance yet. Second one was the vegetation, as well as the tree ordinance. Maybe that was 2 and 3, because those were separated at one point because town council wished to pursue just the tree ordinance on its own, so those were kind of cleaved from the overall ordinance. But we have all that I mean, that's all been documented. It just has to be written by staff, and my request is, do you want to direct staff, because we can't, to complete that, or are there other priorities that you have for staff? And that's all we can do.
We can request to the new town manager that he,
Sure, I think it's about
Of town
workload and
staff,
everything else.
yeah,
Sure, I mean, it's
yeah.
about workload and how, you know, how much staff can accomplish right now.
right,
So,
right.
but I think the importance was, and I think I you know, said that at the meeting, was that as we build back, it would be best to avoid people from planting invasives. And part of the ordinance that we worked on was to make it, I guess, illegal to plant any class 1 invasive, right? So we're not seeing Mexican petunias popping up as everybody re-landscapes.
Right.
Or coconut palms.
Coconut palm, well, that's a class 2, so that's technically they can still go, you know, still plant coconut palms, but I mean, we've been through that, you know.
A lot.
A lot. So I referenced it to say, as we rebuild, it would be nice to have these in place so that actually we can take advantage of them,
That's
or
right.
the town could benefit from them. And, you know, the over those couple of years, we did give town council update. Now there's a new town council too. That's one of the problems. So they didn't have the benefit of the input along the way where they said, yes, we agree with that, continue to work on it. So that's why I brought it up to them, but I'm not sure they understood exactly everything that I was saying, because there's 2 new members. So to their benefit, it was, yeah, I got a little bit of the deer in the headlights because they hadn't been involved with it. And it's, so it's our job as advisory board to continue to advise them to please get these in place. So I will make a note here to then reiterate what I had said at the last meeting.
Okay,
and
so
see if I can actually, if I can get direction back from them.
Okay.
Okay.
So could my motion just be for them, being the town council, to reconsider, or reevaluate the proposed recommendations from MERTF on vegetation ordinances?
I think he's going to do that.
Yeah.
If
Yeah. So I'm going to include
Well, he
that.
said he's going to do it, but I'm like, if I'm not making a motion, I'm not sure they're going to consider it. Yes, I guess that's my.
No, I made a note right here. I'll include it as the second part of my advisory report.
Okay.
First, what we're working on, and then also these other, the things that I brought up before, those 3 pieces of legislation
Okay.
that need to be codified. And that's the status it's in right now.
Okay.
So ordinance codification, how's that? Codification, we got it. I won't let you down,
All
Rose,
right.
okay?
Thanks.
I will not let you down, so. Okay, so for now, this is our list, and I can even potentially ask them to help prioritize it. So, any other input as we move on to our next agenda item? Okay, not hearing any, I'll move on. So next one was dark skies. Doc Fossum here asked to put that back on the agenda from pre-storm. So,
What I was hoping from Chad or Bill to get an update on the lighting, street lighting. And then also reiterate our suggestion that town council adheres all design projects to their own ordinance.
right. So if I heard you properly, you wanted to get an update on street lighting. I can provide that.
Okay.
For just street lighting?
Sure.
Yeah,
That's
so street lighting, Mayor Allers brought to council the possibility of shielding white light during Tyrrell season. FPL, I should say. Let me actually set the record straight. So FPL had made a proposal that they can shield the existing lights, continue to put up white lights and shield those, or they could put up amber lights on the boulevard. And so Mayor Allers brought that to town council to consider and see if there's a consensus for one or the other. They put up a temporary light, they temporarily shielded the light and directed people to go look at it. But that is a non-compliant solution, and the amber is a compliant solution. So the decision was made, FPL came to town council, there were a number of people there to public comment. And the decision, the vote I think was 4-0. I'm not sure the mayor voted, but it was unanimous to install the amber lights. So FPL had made a commitment to have the amber lights installed on the boulevard as a temporary measure by June 1st, I think, was what came from that meeting. And the additional information associated with that is that would be a temporary solution until there was a successful appropriation from legislation. We're asking for $10 million, I think, maybe, or to fund the lighting, to do a private build where the town owns the lighting. So this would be the all amber solution
And that would also
with uniform lighting.
including the side streets. That is
That's
including
including the
the
side
side
streets, that's correct, that's correct. So the temporary solution is only for Estero Boulevard,
Mhm.
but the final appropriation would be a all-amber solution for the island, is what the mayor is moved forward with,
And that'll be nice, it'll be uniform to all the county lights, that they're the street lights, the crosswalk lights.
correct, yeah, the county's responsible for all the crosswalks, and they'll be installing, they've standardized on the same light, or prior to the town chose for the boulevard, so it should be uniform. But it's also uniform lighting, which means you don't go from dark to light. So there's more lights that are necessary. There'd be more lights necessary currently.
I just think this is fantastic. I mean, for so many years, these street lights have had to be turned off.
Right.
Because this is a law. This is not just a town law. These are federally protected
Federal, state, and
species,
local.
federally, state, and local laws. And now, I mean, for the emergency lights, it's not going to be as bright as what we are going to be eventually getting. These are going to be...
That's correct. They're
yeah.
lower lumen output, but there's going to be lights on the
I
boulevard.
just want people to, understand
be
that,
safer, yeah.
But at least we'll have light, and I think that's
That's fantastic.
fantastic, yeah.
Yep,
I
and that's a
agree.
good start for dark skies.
Right, and so
Yes.
under dark skies, I think where we left that is we were looking at potential certification as a dark skies community, and I think we sort of abandoned that because it takes a community commitment and support from the town and the support from, which may be changed. We've got a new town council, but it requires, there's a lot of bureaucracy to it. But to your point earlier, that we have a dark skies ordinance already. Our municipal lighting ordinance is based on all dark skies principles. So for instance, you're not allowed by our current land development code and ordinance to put an uplight. Yeah, everything, you shouldn't be able to see the source of the light. So a bare light bulb is you're out of compliance. And this affects the residents as well. And it's not also is only instituted if you have if you pull a permit. This is, I think in 2010, the entire town was supposed to have fallen under this, this ordinance that was passed a couple years earlier. So as they do permit it, I guess maybe the recommendation is to the town council would be to follow.
Read the ordinance.
Well, as they permit
Yeah.
for final inspections, they need to include that as it states in the ordinance. They need to
Yeah.
review exterior lighting and ensure that it's compliant with our land development code.
So I don't know if anyone has the answer, but the post office, they have just put up white, bright LED spotlights all around the property facing the beach now that all those buildings are gone. And I went over and spoke with the foreman, and he informed me that they don't have to follow town ordinances, or they don't even need permits because it's a federal building. And I thought, well, that's strange because it's a federally protected species. You would think the federal government would want to follow, town ordinances. I did a quick Google search, and that's actually, he's incorrect. And maybe they don't need permitting, but they still have to follow the town ordinances.
But you were speaking with the landowner,
I also spoke with
which
the
is
owner.
it's not a federally owned property,
Correct, it's rented. It's not federally owned, it's rented. So I just was curious if anyone here knew the answer to that. And so they put these lights up, and he said he's not gonna turn them on for another month, but they're already all installed. And I said, well, okay, so in a month, this is what my thought process is, and I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know, but he's going to be done in a month with building back the post office. So is he going to build it back, turn on the lights, get the check, and out he goes? And then we're stuck with all these. And then the post office is not going to they'll have to be turned off during sea turtle season, and that means the post office is going to be loading all their mail into their trucks in the complete dark, because they do this at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
I know, because I can hear it.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be working in the dark. So I don't know, you know, if this is gonna be taken care of.
So
but-
have you brought it to the attention to the town compliance department? I mean, the fact it wasn't permitted?
Yes.
And it then, okay, and,
And I don't know.
You don't
Chad's
know
not
yet,
here
okay.
to tell me. But what, you know, I worry for the, you know, it's just, it doesn't seem right to me that, that they don't need permitting, or they don't need, you know, to follow.
it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't sound.
Doesn't make sense.
It's, if you look at the municipal lighting ordinance.
But this is a good
need
example
a
of
per-
how these contractors are coming in and doing what they want and you know, not complying. And
Right.
this is gonna be a problem.
Well, there's requirements, I mean, we have a municipal ordinance that controls that, so it has to be downlit, it has to be shielded, it can only be mounted to a certain degree, there can't be more than a half a foot candle of light going into the, I don't know if it's a foot, but there's a chart, going into, off the property. I mean,
So they're just gonna turn the lights on and then all of a sudden?
and then at
what?
the final inspection, it's the
What final
compliance. That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Under the land development code, you need to pull a permit for lighting, and you also then have a final inspection where they come out with the light meter and determine that whether you're in compliance or not.
Well, I did
mean,
look
that's how
to
it's-
see and they didn't get any permits.
Okay, so that's the thing you have to pursue with the town, but, right.
All right, in regards
I
to the
heard.
dark sky, why we kind of abandoned it was we thought they were gonna put white lights on Estero Boulevard. And so we decided that we couldn't do anything more with the dark sky initiative if they put bright white lights on Estero Boulevard. So that's why it's kind of was tabled.
Well, it was tabled because to pursue the certification, remember, I looked into the application process,
Yeah.
and we benchmarked some Homer, Illinois, and some of these that
Mhm.
have achieved it. But it required, again, this is just off the top of my head, but you needed letters from legislators, you needed town council, the mayor to support it, you need local Rotary clubs and things like that, also letters of support. You need, they have a survey that X amount of % of the town support. I mean, there's a lot of bureaucratic steps getting there, but also I think at the time we didn't think that that we had that support.
And we didn't think we had the lighting support, you know.
Well, that's a 4-year battle. I mean, for
Yeah.
the boulevard and for the town. I mean, let's face
So-
it. I think it's an enormous success
Yes.
in the town that they're for wildlife concerns, and for I think quality of life and human physical concerns. That this all amber solution is a good one.
I agree.
It meets everybody. There's no question about safety. That was turned over, you know, and looked at every which way. The amount of light is there. The color isn't important with regards to safety. But also on the members report, I have some updates there too on a concept called, and it came up during the lighting ordeal, was crime prevention through environmental design, and it looks into it's called SEPTED, and that we discussed that earlier when we were discussing safety and lighting. That a white glaring light is not safe. It casts shadows to hide in. There's been, anyway, there's a lot of empirical evidence that it's, you know, of adopting that. But dark skies will come in. I mean, it also was an overall subject for when we discuss things like Bayfront Park, Bayside Park, that the uplighting is not dark sky. Anytime you shine light up, it's wasted light, and it provides it creates sky glow, and so the question is what's our current status?
No, I think just that we should move on, keep doing it.
Okay. So
And
that's on, and
stay vigilant for the wrong lighting.
okay. So, but again, I'll add that also because it's on the
Yeah.
on the agenda. But also the recommendation is to follow our LDC and the requirements in the Land Development Code, the Municipal Lighting Ordinance, to ensure there's compliance, specifically with new permits. But it's a start.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that is the biggest issue is compliance.
Yeah.
That is our main
Enforcement.
enforcement.
Mhm.
With everything that we talk about, the biggest issue is compliance and enforcement.
Mhm. Okay, so let's move on. Good Citizen Award. The MERF. So last meeting, I misunderstood Rose to say that we adopted her Murphy. I think we're all agreed on that, but I also was misunderstood that she had an article for some reason. And Doc here, I asked him, and he thought maybe two, but we cleared that up. So I was waiting for the article, and when we cleared it up, so I hadn't submitted the Murphy. So do we want to
Do it, yeah.
just by itself, and then
I-
have a new Murphy to go with the shoreline? Oh, I guess there's one more after the shoreline spotlight, and see if that's achievable. Shoreline spotlight.
Well, it's also because I do not consistently have internet access, so it's not just that there was a misunderstanding. It's like,
Well,
I
I
don't always have the ability to send stuff.
Yeah, I was surprised too, because we were all still scrambling,
Yeah, I know,
and we
it's
didn't have our
awesome.
spotlight. Yeah. So okay. So let me do this. Let's step back and discuss shoreline spotlight, because we added that to the agenda. So for the sake of any viewers or anybody here in the room, Shoreline Spotlight is a monthly article that's submitted to the Observer newspaper, authored by a member of the Marine and Environmental Resource Task Force, in conjunction with the Murphy Award, which is a Good Citizen Award for exhibiting good conservation behaviors. So we have the Murphy from last meeting, which we will submit immediately. And so the question is do you want to continue? Is there any reason we wouldn't continue with the Shoreline Spotlight? And if so, can we create a new schedule?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so we continue on, and we don't need the subject matter right now. Obviously, we just need to assign people. So I've started with June. Is June too early for an article, or shall we? So let me ask this: is anybody interested in June, which is upcoming, for an article? And if not, then we would maybe start in July, based on everybody's personal schedules and priorities.
Let's start July. Two weeks.
June?
I
June's
mean,
good.
Okay. Would you like to do June?
Sure, I can write about, I can write about anything anytime.
Okay,
Yeah,
we
sure.
got you, Rose. You're in June. We will do June. July?
I'll do July.
Okay, Wendy? August?
I'll do August.
Okay, Mary Rose? I mean, let's face it, we're all going to sign up, Mary Rose. Thank you, Mary Rose.
Yeah.
September? I'll do September.
I'll do October.
All right, you always do October. That's when the mullet run starts, no, Doc? Okay. Wendy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Don't forget,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Rob, Ranger. Rob.
Right, oh yeah, I was going to submit him if I'll put him in November. Rob? December?
I'll take
Do
December.
December? Okay. So shall we then just use that order and renew for the next following 6 months? And you can substitute, you can trade, with people. You can.
You're not in there, Steve.
I am in there. I'm in there for September.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I didn't-
September's twice instead of Steve.
I didn't try to sneak out of it. MR, Steve, then would be April of, I guess, next year already. Steve, Doc, Rob. That comes out evenly. Good, Jen.
And the article should only be sent to Chad and not Chad and you. Is that correct?
I believe so. I mean, if that's in violation of
It shouldn't be,
sunshine.
it's public knowledge once you
But I think
send,
it's-
it's public record when you put it in the newspaper, so.
I think the
don't
town-
think
Doesn't
it's-
matter if we send.
I
It's
think-
not violating sunshine state laws according to sunshine.
I think our town policies encourage that there's just no email communication
All
between
right, so
members.
I would
Oh.
send it only to
So that,
Chad.
so that there's no subjectivity as to whether it
Okay.
does meet the
Alright.
sunshine laws or doesn't. That's my understanding.
And this is a reminder that it's at 800 words, 8
Uh,
to 1100.
I don't know, 900, something like that.
Oh.
Or I could be, no, that's something different. So I will send you the Shoreline Spotlight
An article.
template. Yeah, template. Now I actually started a template and previous, I think I started a list of all the previous articles. So we you can look at it. So you know what's been discussed, not that we can't use the same type of subject in previous articles. So I will have that sent. The template which says how many words we're targeting. As you remember, it's always, and I think I still have, unless you want to update your photos that go with the articles, send one with the article, and I will send that out to you before this next, after the meeting. Okay, so we good on Shoreline Spotlight?
Yes,
Okay, now I haven't asked the Observer whether they still want to do
Oh.
it, but
I'm sure.
content, right? That's what everybody needs. So, now we can move on to the Good Citizen Award, the Murphy. Do we have any nominations for this coming one?
I thought we were using,
We had one banked, I thought.
did you submit roses?
We have roses. No, it hasn't. I was
That
waiting
was
for the
mine,
article.
So why don't we
and,
just use that with the article?
we said we would, well, unless we have another one. I would say.
Honestly, okay, so I do have one. I think Keep Lee County Beautiful has been doing an amazing job getting people together. And there was a cleanup at Mound House. Murph had a pop-up, and lots of people attended and picked up a ton of garbage. And then they had one that they worked with the Fort Myers Beach Community Foundation at Santini Plaza. They
Mhm.
They have really been stepping up
Mhm.
the cleaning efforts for Fort Myers Beach, and I think they deserve a
Keep
Murphy
Lee
Award.
County Beautiful.
Yes,
There's
that's
one
what-
there's one nomination. Do we have any other nominations? Hearing none, I make a motion that we award the Murphy to Keep Lee County Beautiful.
Okay, a second.
Second, we got the second discussion. Objections? Okay, motion passes unanimously. And thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So, good.
Do we have any public comments? Have we read about that?
We're moving into that now.
Well, let's
Oh,
see.
no, we have member-
My
members
agenda
items.
is different than
Members'
yours.
items and reports. So, starting with Wendy.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Doc?
Nothing new.
Okay, I've got two items for mine. The first is this waste pipe inspection.
Mhm.
So when I did go to town council, that was under our motion. One of the items that we need to look into. Councilman Vice Mayor Adderholt jumped on it and brought it up while he did his meetings with key staff members. That if you've seen any of those videos are excellent. He's interviewing key staff members to share information on what's going on. It's from. I mean, it's a fantastic program he's doing, a service for the town. He had interviewed, and I know his first name was Steve, but there's a new municipal water, not public services, but water. So Christy Corey's replacement, not to sort of, pigeonhole what the position is, but he had brought that up, and he had previous experience with that, and he was immediately going to talk with the county and find out what options we have for that.
Mhm.
So I wanted to share that with you. He actually even called me after the interview and was delighted to share that information with us. So that was something that they thought was important and are pursuing it. And for the visitors here, this was basically does the municipality need to the town look at any waste pipe damage from the storm or from old and corroded cast iron where wastewater is seeping into the groundwater. Because Doc here found out his was after an inspection of his waste pipes.
And two neighbors.
And two neighbors. And the other two neighbors were positive for perforations and
Yeah.
leakage? Wow.
So 3 who looked found.
Wow. And were those all 3 cast iron?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's an expensive fix, isn't it?
Yes. Well, you can sleeve. Well, we don't have to go over repair, but you can sleeve it where you just put a plastic tube down the middle of it, or you can dig it all out. Or the third new one I think we may do is elevate your whole house. Then your pipe is up there, easier to fix.
Right. But, so if you had PVC at any point added, like our home, I know they had replaced it with PVC.
Oh.
Chances are that should be fine, but, and it's underground ranch house, so there's probably no chance of crack.
Mm-hmm.
But
How would you know?
You
you
don't.
wouldn't know.
You don't, so
Well, unless, I mean, if it was bad enough, you'd actually see, you'd see moisture, I suppose, at some point, potentially, depending on how deep your waste pipe is. But no, but typically no, you don't know. It's just,
is anyone experiencing, I know Rose, you're not on the island right now, a lot of flies?
oh yeah, but
Okay,
there's,
so I was thinking maybe I've got a leak somewhere because the flies are just
well, there's
terrible.
the real small ones are fungus flies, so they're feeding on all this fungus that's been growing since the storm. And there doesn't seem to be nearly as many of those, but there's
The big ones.
flies themselves, there's been an outbreak, but now we seem like it's not such an issue. You open the trailer door and there's not 7 following you in. So it comes and goes maybe. But, so that's one piece to share. And the second piece was this, it's basically based on dark skies, but there's a gentleman called Art Hushin who is the president and owner of, his bailiwick is light and safety. So he's the president and owner of the National Institute of Crime, is the name of his organization. But he promotes crime prevention through environmental design. So it's a worldwide practice, it's a thing, right? It exists, it's not a new thing. And we actually presented some of it, I think, to either town council or at this meeting or at the meeting with town lighting at their meeting. But there's a principles of lighting. The famous one is that if you have a glaring light, they have 2 photos. If there's a glaring light, all you see is a gate, a wooden gate. Now, if you use correct lighting, downward directed, no glare, the same picture, you see a person right behind the gate.
Oh, I've seen that picture before.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, we've used that,
Yeah.
during that
The
whole
lighting
lighting thing.
consultant,
Well,
yeah.
that whole lighting issue. So he's willing to come and present to the town, well, to public safety. We've been, talked to Dawn Thomas, and they haven't resumed their meetings yet. Public safety, which I think would be a great thing for them to resume because there's a lot of safety things going on. But the idea was potentially a joint meeting with them to allow them to present, or the other option would be just to co-host, sort of it's not a meeting of the town, but would become a symposium or just a talk on the subject. So that's just something that's being sort of worked on, and I was looking to see if that,
So he's willing to come at no cost.
to the town, correct, yeah, I think he's
And
based up in
present.
Tampa, and present this, yeah, it's
Yeah.
very, I mean, there's tons of videos, and it's very interesting. So, and he looks at your own municipal lighting code, in our case, he'll say, hey, you guys are pretty well set already, but it'd be a reinforcement of why we have that code. So do you see any problems with that based on how it's organized? So if it did become an agenda item, you'd be willing to do,
Sounds like a great idea. I think we should.
It's good, and then we could even tie into having vegetation information as a follow-up.
that's in there too, it's by environmental design, about where you should plant stuff. I mean, it's just all about safety, but it's all about crime prevention. It's all based on reducing crime. And I don't think anybody has an issue with that. Except for you, you look like you're very criminal looking sometimes.
It sounds like something that many people would be interested in listening to.
Okay, good. So that's my members update. Sorry it takes so long.
Well, I'm probably going to be a tad longer because.
But I know you're going to work hard at brevity.
Yes.
Okay.
So I am super excited. I have 2 items, and the first one, I only came with 1 item, but I just got a text message that I'll share with you. But anyhow, so last week I was presented by the Fort Myers Beach Community Foundation with a check for $5,000 for MERTF.
Holy cow. That's from the Women's Fund or Community
The
Foundation?
Community Foundation had given and basically had thanked us for being getting out there and having educational material and the pop-ups and doing so much outreach, and it really is an amazing donation. Right after me was the Mound House, and that was Jeff Hogg, who received a donation for the Mound House, which was awesome too. And when he got up, he announced that they were going to do the kids, because it was in question whether or not they were going to be able to do the summer camp at Bay Oaks because there's a delay. He announced that yes, they're going to do the summer camp this year, and it's going to be, I believe, at Mound House.
Great.
So I had a light go off because I was in my mind thinking, what are we going to do with this $5,000? Well, I am proposing to MERTF that a couple years ago, I received from Turtle Time, not from Turtle Time, but from Turtle Watch in Anna Marie, where they had the kids basically come up with illustrations and drawings of kind of like an activity book, a kid's activity book, and I loved it so much. Unfortunately, I lost it during Ian, and she had told me we can print them; they're not copyrighted, but she was looking for the download of it, and unfortunately, she passed away before she could get that to me. And so then I thought, why don't we get our beach kids to do an activity book? So yesterday, I called Jeff Hogg and asked for a meeting. He took the meeting with me yesterday, and I gave him all the children's educational material. Told him, take the kids on beach tours, walks, and then have them journal their ideas and do drawings. And he basically said, let's go, let's collaborate, let's do this. So I thought that this $5,000 or a portion of this $5,000 could go towards the printing. I also had a friend who's a book illustrator in New York City offered to do all the illustrations for free as a donation for the beach kids.
Oh.
That's awesome.
So this is what I'm asking, is that we allocate either the $5,000 or a portion of the $5,000 to go towards printing. We don't know the price. We don't know. It'll be a summer program for these kids to come up with, what they've learned about the wildlife and native plants and all the things that we work on, and then we will take those pictures and drawings and journals and give them to this illustrator. And then, of course, once the illustrator has something, come back with us, then we would have to take it to Jenny Dexter for approval, and then maybe get our printing company to print them up. So I don't know the cost of it. We can just, generally, basically say that we'll use, enough to print 1,000. But this would be something that the kids would be so proud to do. They could even talk about their thoughts on, on Ian and what they've lost, and just, I think it would not only be a fun activity for them for the summer program, but also something they can look back on and be really proud of. So.
Excellent. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, do we need to make a vote on this, or?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. Can you do that under items? You make a
But
motion?
don't we need a budget? I mean, since you don't know the cost yet, why don't we just put it in the bank?
Okay, perfect.
Put it in the bank, and then
Give you the authority.
once we have the more information about printing, I mean, we have the other funds from the township too that we have, so if you need more,
Do
or don't we?
we? They can't take it away from us, but I guess if it's just not there, it's just not there. There's nothing,
Well, hopefully
can't
there is
take it.
something if we need more.
yeah.
Yeah.
How do you, what do you, does that go to the town?
This goes to the town.
Okay, and
It's
they, do
made
we have
out
a separate
to
account?
Fort
then?
Myers Beach MERTF.
It's the same way it worked last year.
Just in an accounting.
It didn't work well, but it's, maybe it will work better now that we have a new controller.
Yeah.
I know I had to ask Amy, like,
Joe's
you know
a really
what,
good
and
guy.
she said she was gonna talk to the town manager and kind of figure something out,
Mhm.
so.
So as far as we know, this will be all the money in the account. The account is zero. We
Correct,
have
yeah.
this $5,000.
My assumption is that during the budgeting process from last year, we had requested funds and things, but I think it's just, we don't necessarily need those this year for special projects.
Okay.
I just feel like we shouldn't
Well, if you don't
count,
need.
we shouldn't count on it. I mean, that's my personal opinion as a chair, just that, you know, the town's going through a lot, and so to fund the advisory board is low
That's what I was
priority.
thinking, that
Especially now if we
this,
have
We should make
money.
a motion.
this money would go, it would be easy just to, you know, basically once it was approved by Jenny Dexter, that she would just call the printing, Panthers Printing, and say, okay, we need 1,000. It's not like I'm asking for a ton of stuff to be ordered for the pop-up. This would
Right.
be just a little bit simpler. My second item is, any questions?
Well, I'm still thinking we should have a motion. Oh, I'd like to make a motion that $4,000 out of the $5,000 donated would be going to printing a children's coloring book from Fort Myers Beach children.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to be, and I don't mean to be negative, but we're involving a lot of people, you know, before we even get to the printing of it.
Right.
Mhm.
So let's put that in our
Premature, yeah.
account to use however we decide to use it.
Until we have more information, until we have more
This will never
information.
go anywhere, so
Right.
they
Yeah.
can't take this away from us.
With,
All right.
with
Yeah.
that being a great idea, and let's hope we get to the point that we're printing.
Right, right,
We don't
it's
know when
premature.
that's gonna be. That might not be till the end of camp.
Premature.
That we send it to the illustrator.
Yeah, this is gonna be a while.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gonna be a while.
okay.
And it may cost $1,200, or may cost $800, may
Yeah.
cost $4,000.
Right.
Right.
So we
All right.
don't have enough
Alright.
information on how
Okay,
much.
so we agree it's premature.
Yeah,
So what's your,
but
you have another
anyhow,
item?
It's a
I'm
great
really
idea.
excited
Follow
about
through on it.
this. I will, trust
Yeah.
me.
Okay.
The second one is big breaking news this morning for Fort Myers Beach, and I'll just read it. It says basically, refurbishment program has awarded $50,000 grant to the town of Fort Myers Beach to refurbish the ball fields at Bay Oaks Recreational Campus. It's only one of 3 in the whole United States to be granted this. Huge news.
Wow, it's great for
Hogg,
Bork.
the interim cultural parks and recreation director at the town, is basically thrilled and thinks that this is going to be a big boost for our community.
I'd say.
So with my own comments is that we really should, you know, since they're going to be doing this, what about the ball field lights? We'll, you know, have to address that.
Compliance again.
Compliance,
If they're just compliant, that's all we ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a compliance solution.
So it's
They
great
just need to
news.
pursue
We
it.
just need to make sure that when it's time to rebuild those fields, that we do it right.
Okay, well, that's on our list here.
Can I ask a question? You had been working on the huge project of the pamphlet. Where are we at for that pamphlet?
Oh, so I thought about,
No,
you know,
sorry.
that's
Yeah, no,
originally
it's
what I
just
was thinking
money-wise.
about with this money,
Oh,
is that
money.
we would continue on, but it was
Oh.
still such a project working with the gentleman, the graphic designer. It was before Ian just halfway done.
Yeah.
So that would need to pursue, and I thought, well, let's put that on the back burner for now.
Okay.
I'd rather this money go towards our beach kids and creating something special for them and for the community and for our library and other schools, and so but it's definitely still in the works. It's just something that for right now,
Because that was a tremendous
Yeah.
piece of work that was
Yeah.
done.
All right.
and that will be it for me.
Okay,
Today.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Rose, any members?
Other than the local Estero Island Garden Club, you know, wanting to support vegetation on Fort Myers Beach and helping residents and business owners with that, I also was contacted by 2 Master Gardener volunteers that live on Sanibel, and they're meeting on Friday to put together or look at putting together some programs for the residents and business owners there in the future, and they invited me to join them. I can't make it on Friday, but I'm also considering that, and with the caveat that they will also come here to Fort Myers Beach, and we'll do something together on not just native plants, but Florida-friendly plants, which also require less water, fertilizer, and pesticides.
Good idea.
Excellent. Anything else? Okay, Mary Rose?
Yeah,
Florida?
yeah, I have two things I would like to bring up. The first is, I'm out on our beach very early in the morning. Usually there's no one else there. Occasionally there's one or two people. But it seems that because there are so few people, people think that they can ignore our leash law as far as dogs go and let them roam. And because there's no one around, they think it's fine. But the problem is we have nesting shorebirds. And the shorebirds are afraid of dogs. So although they might not be, these birds, these chicks might not be upset if a person walks by, if they see a dog approaching them, it's a problem. And I would ask people to please keep your dogs on a leash. It's bird nesting time of year, and it's also turtle nesting time of year. And the second thing I've noticed is although there's still a lot of debris coming in every day, there's a lot of trash, some of the debris that comes in is very sharp. It's dangerous. I see people out there who are barefoot. Please, do not go barefoot out there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all I have to say.
In
Thank you,
regards to
Mary
that, in one day,
you.
I found a bed spring, mattress. I
Public
found
comment.
a dishwasher that floated up
Oh,
Yeah.
and all their parts. It was a lot.
But many of
All
the
right.
stuff is semi-submerged in the water, so you can't see it until you're right on top of it.
Metal.
And I shudder when I think about children running in that sand barefoot.
Or
It's just not a
dogs,
good
you
idea.
know. That's
That's
another
true
reason
too.
to keep a dog
Keep
on
them
a
on
leash
leash.
because
Yeah, that's
it's
great.
dangerous on our
Right.
beaches right now. It's not totally safe.
Okay.
Right.
Excellent, thank you. Let's move forward here, sake of time. Our remaining public comment? No? You got another one, good, come on up. Come
Just
on.
listening brought a few things to mind. I understand that you don't direct staff,
Mm-hmm.
but I also understand from my viewpoint, the staff needs some education.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like if you take a sterile boulevard, they contracted with a landscaper who
Mhm.
did a hideous job,
Mhm.
wasted money, did not properly prepare.
Mhm.
So they need some advice, they need some education. I don't know how to, proceed with that. I know as a private resident, I can write the town manager and the town council ad nauseum.
Mhm.
But at some point, they need a little bit more education. The other one we got to laugh at was the pots at Palm Ave, where they put in the restrooms.
Mm-hmm.
They planted it in January. They had begonias and some other silly plants out there, and they never watered them.
Mhm.
They all died. We watched them die.
Mm-hmm.
So, at some point, I would hope that there's some conduit, that they're not just contracting a landscaper and then doing whatever the landscaper recommends, which is not necessarily in our best interest, either, beautification or financially. So, lastly, Waterside is, done some plantings, hydro seeding. And apparently they can they've already done it. They've chosen the plants that have been hydro seeded, and apparently they need far less maintenance, and they're guaranteed to seed. You can get the sunshine mimosa, you can get something in a native plant. So it's something that I'll touch base with Sue Patton with the Garden Club. It's been running that, and see how successful that is. That could be something that could be more easily established than what we're going through right now.
May I interrupt? What is that, Kathy? I don't know what is hydro seeding.
They're germinating, my layman's terms, I'm not good at this. They're germinating the seeds in water, and they're spraying it like a hose.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't
So-
have to keep going out there, and they're guaranteeing you don't have to do that watering every single day for the establishment.
Ah, so you're
And what is it for? Like, what kind of seeds is this
You
working on?
choose. You
Flower-
choose.
flower
They have
seeds.
they have native seeds.
Hmm.
You know, you can get the cooties, you can get the sunshine mimosa, and they chose it trying to attract butterflies and to do a large area.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So, once it germinates and once it sprouts, then you add the soil, or how?
No, you're
No,
spraying it on top
you're
of
s-
the
Oh.
you're sowing pre-germinated
Right.
plants.
Oh.
So there's not seeds anymore, I suppose, but you're like, think a little tiny, they're sprouting, and you just you hose them all over your yard, all over your area. I mean, I don't mean to.
Is this a patented idea? Is there only one company that does it?
I don't think so, but as I said,
I
we
did
have
it
a
20 years
contact
ago.
with
Yeah,
a company,
full
they're out of
bucket.
Massachusetts.
Uh-huh.
I think Bay Beach has spent something like $30,000 hydro seeding down there. They've got a lot of property.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if there are grants available or whatever else, but it's something to
Hydro seeding.
investigate.
Definitely. It sounds like there are a lot of associations that might take advantage of this because they're all faced with
Germinated.
vegetation.
Yeah, and right now we have a water problem. It's not like you can plant and just hose it down because there's not all the water sources there used to be.
Mhm.
So,
I wonder about Bay Oaks.
Good, thank you.
Possibly do that.
okay?
Anything else?
No, that's it, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
So, gentlemen, do you still have the question? Is there anybody else here for public comment?
I mean, I do have a question.
I'm sorry, do you have to, can you identify yourself and
Hi.
just your name?
Good afternoon. My name is Virgil. I'm just here just to listen. I was down there doing laundry and
Yeah.
got invited to the meeting.
Good.
It just, several concerns. I mean, this talked about, there's a lot of things going on that, just not today, it's gonna be through anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But like you guys suggest, take it step by step, taking down agendas 3 at a time. It's a great idea. I have my own consulting company down the road across the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do. I just try to help out, look at things outside the box. And I'm a local as well.
Oh,
So
good.
I've seen the changes that the environment has made throughout the whole, the beach from Sanibel all the way down to north,
Marco, I
Pine
guess.
Island Sound, all that. And the red tide has really devastated the fishing. That's what people would come down here for. That's what we're known for.
Mhm.
The fishing and adventure kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think once those things are established and implemented, at least just the start of it, I mean, everything will move forward smoothly. So
Mhm.
people will see that at the end of the day. But it's going to take a lot of time and effort, a lot of effort.
Mhm.
We cleaned up down there over at the Trico and other fish, Erica and Jensen.
Oh, mhm.
But it was with resilience, every day we was at it, and we're back running over there. So
Mhm.
I think we could do it. And so with the right help and the right people, and I think you guys are in for it. So
Mhm. Good. Well,
Sir,
thank you very
can
much.
State your name again.
Virgil,
Virgil. Yep. Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you attending the meeting and the encouragement more than anything.
I mean, it like she said, people don't come down here, and it should if they do care,
Mhm.
where they live.
Right. Absolutely. Okay.
But and as well, sorry, I'm looking forward to working with you guys as well. It just any and anything just to better the environment itself because I do as well a lot of jogging and running on the beach early, and there was quite a few times that you couldn't go out there because of the red tide.
Oh yeah.
It's just that bad.
Yep.
But we offer a lot of solutions to it, from cleaning the beach itself, applying the nutritions to the water. Because the hurricane itself, you see that as a good and bad indication, but it replenished all the bottom sediment on the bay and all that. So it's going to regrow again. But we have to have those things in place to help it, move forward. That's all.
What's the name of your consulting firm?
Faraz Company.
I'm sorry.
Faraz Company in Port. I have a card.
Yeah.
So I'll leave one with you guys.
Good.
But you know, we gotta take, it's Earth. This is where we live, whether you live here in Fort Myers or outside of space.
Mhm.
We gotta take care of it. That's all.
Good.
Yeah. Well, and
Thanks again.
we appreciate community, you know, there's only, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of us, and we appreciate the community coming and helping us, too, to come and give your ideas and help us advise, because we're an advisory board to the town council. So we need the community input so we can then, you know, take it to the town council.
I mean, I would say it's a due diligence as a resident.
Exactly.
So,
So
I
we
mean,
need
and,
help.
I mean, and there's a lot of things that I think just implementing safety, the lighting, like he was stating, those things will attract people. You know, the people want to feel safe wherever they go on vacation.
Mhm.
You know, so I'm from the islands. That's why I say, you know, we have beautiful beaches down there.
Mhm.
And I take what I see there and I say, man, you know, it's a rich country. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, the quality of water has to, you know, better accept.
Right.
So,
Yeah. We're reliant on that. That's for sure. So good. Thanks
Thank
again.
you, Steve.
Yep. Thank you. So let's set the agenda for next meeting, if we shall. I'll certainly throw in staff updates. It'd be interesting to find out, you know, get the updates.
Yeah.
Are we missing the MERTF award?
No, we did it already.
No, we did
We
that.
did.
Oh, we
Yeah.
did. Okay,
We
so,
kinda, yeah, we're not on the same
okay,
agenda.
I'm confused, but okay.
It's all good.
We took your nomination.
Yep.
I know, I'm
Well,
reading
you know, when you
this.
have different agendas, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So set agenda. I mean, basically, that's staff updates should be every meeting, right? To let the
Yes.
skill set, right?
What do we want Chad to update us on? The berm, beach accesses? I think we need to be specific.
Vegetation.
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 Well, specifically the vegetation
Vegetation.
ordinance.
Says,
And how about lighting? He does the lighting violation
Entry ordinance.
and the ordinances that have been put forth to him.
So what's staff's direction for
And-
lighting?
And enforcement on lighting,
On
new build lighting.
lighting compliance, okay. And beach access.
and you had the water ordinance on there, because that was really just copying what the other towns have done in Lee County.
It's a, right.
Fort Myers Beach was the only one that had not completed it, so it's really just a,
It's a formality, really. I mean,
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
the
that-
town, yeah, it was just a
yeah.
matter of the paperwork, so. Okay, so that's staff report. Build Back Right, we'll call that right. We're gonna brand that Build Back Right, which would be the agenda items we established today. And which ones do you want to start in on?
Town vegetation.
Mhm.
Not gonna, like.
Yeah, I think that's important because people will be planting stuff. And
They are.
if we don't direct them, some will put the wrong things in.
They're planting right now.
Yeah, but also that would include sort of the town-owned properties, right? So
Yeah.
that's Bay Oaks, Bayside, what, you know, what are gonna be our recommendations to council as we build back town-owned property as far as vegetation?
So 2
Okay.
parts for that, maybe.
Right, well, there's the codification, I mean, that's not, that's ongoing. Town properties, all right?
Chair, may I be excused for 1 minute? Use the restroom?
Sure. You don't have to ask.
No. Formality.
It's like Shawshank Redemption. Boss, I gotta use a can. What else? It's dark skies. Dark skies,
Yes.
okay. And how about this density intensity concept? I think that's, okay, that's 3. All right.
Do we want staff update regarding the braking that's going on?
I'd love one, yeah. I mean, we can add that. Yep. Yep. Just an update.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, can't overload it, so I think that's probably enough.
Yeah.
You guys got
You
consensus?
can always bring
Good.
up topics under member
Well,
items.
and
Okay.
then, do you want to add in this whole coloring book Beach Kids project, the Beach Kids project for Bay Oaks? Because that will start, like, school gets out June 6th, whatever.
No, we've already given her the okay to do it, so
Right,
I don't
so
think
do
we
we
have
want-
to
So
say anything.
maybe she can update that as a part of a member's report.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
All opposed?
Nay. 12:33. Ooh, that's still under 2 hours.
good job.